Somebody in here today knows what it feels like to carry pain from yesterday. You've cried some tears. You've walked through some storms. You've been through some things that should have taken you out. But you're still here. And I came to tell you this morning that the fact you are still standing means God is not finished with you yet. You see, the enemy wants you to stay trapped in your yesterday, replaying the hurt, rehearsing the pain, but God has given you a vision that's pulling you into your tomorrow. You can't afford to keep looking back. You've got to keep your eyes on the vision, because that vision is the bridge from where you've been to where God is taking you. So today, not just here to motivate you, I came to stir something up on the inside of you. I came to remind you that your past does not define you, your pain does not limit you, and your future is calling your name. Somebody shout, I've got to keep my eyes on the vision. Your past is a place that has shaped you. It was never meant to hold you hostage. Too many of us keep living in the rearview mirror, replaying every hurt, every betrayal, every mistake, until we become prisoners of what was. Your past may explain you, but it does not define you. The things you went through were real. The pain was real. The loss was real. The disappointment was real. But it was never meant to be the final chapter of your story. God allowed you to survive it, not so you could keep circling around it, but so you could grow through it and step into what He has for you next. You can't drive a car staring in the rearview mirror, and you can't walk into your destiny looking backward at your history. You may have gone through seasons of rejection, but rejection was redirection. You may have walked through heartbreak, but heartbreak was making room for the healing that was coming. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your destiny. Every lonely night was preparing you to recognize the joy of the morning. The enemy thought he could bury you under the weight of your past, but God was planting you. That's why you're still here. That's why you didn't lose your mind when it would have been easier to give up. Your past may have left scars. Scars are proof that you survived. Scars are not open wounds. They are healed reminders of the power of God to bring you through what tried to break you. Some of you are still fighting the voices of yesterday. They told you you'd never be enough, never measure up, never make it out. But here you are. You outlived the lie. You survived what they said would destroy you. That means you can't let what happened back then control who you are right now. You've got to make up your mind that yesterday was a lesson, not a life sentence. When you keep living in the pain of your past, you give yesterday permission to steal today's joy and tomorrow's vision. But when you release it, when you decide, I will not camp here any longer, you free yourself to walk in the new thing God is doing in you. The enemy wants you to stay bitter because bitterness keeps you bound, but forgiveness sets you free. Forgive yourself. Forgive them. Forgive the situation, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you stop carrying yesterday's weight, you make room for tomorrow's blessing. You stop dragging the chains of regret, and you start running toward the future God promised. you begin to see that even the painful moments were pushing you closer to purpose. Your past is the soil, not the ceiling. It's the place where the seed of who you are was planted, but you were never meant to stay in the dirt. You were meant to grow, to rise, to break through the surface and bear fruit. And every time you choose to focus on where you're going instead of where you've been, you prove that what happened to you will not stop what God is doing through you. Vision is fragile when it is first born. It starts as a whisper from God, a picture in your spirit, a glimpse of what could be, and the enemy knows if he can distract you early, he can destroy you completely. That's why keeping your focus is so critical. When God gives you a vision, it doesn't always make sense to everybody else. People will try to talk you out of it. Your circumstances will seem to contradict it. Sometimes your own doubts will rise up to challenge it, but you have to fix your eyes like flint and refuse to be moved. What you focus on grows stronger. If you focus on the problem gets bigger. If you focus on the vision, your faith gets stronger. Distractions are dangerous because they divide your energy. Every time you let somebody's opinion pull you off course, every time you let fear get louder than faith, every time you start comparing yourself to somebody else's journey, you lose momentum. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you if he can just delay you long enough to make you quit. That's why you've got to guard your heart and your mind. You've got to be intentional about what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend your time with. You cannot share your vision with everybody because some people can't see what God showed you. Focus is a discipline. It means saying no to good things so you can say yes to the God thing. It means not chasing every opportunity just because it's available. It means sitting still long enough to hear God's direction before you move. It means getting back up when you stumble, dusting yourself off, and setting your eyes again on where you're going. The vision may tarry. It will speak if you keep running toward it. Every step you take in focus is a step away from the chaos of your past and a step closer to the promise of your future. Sometimes the distractions aren't external. They're internal. You start remembering all the mistakes you've made, all the times you've failed, and you wonder if you're even worthy of what God has shown you. That's when you have to remind yourself that the vision wasn't your idea, it was His. And if God gave it, He will sustain it. He didn't bring you this far to leave you now. He didn't show you a future just to taunt you with what you could never have. The vision is the evidence that there is more for you. Focus takes faith because you're often running toward something you can't see yet. It takes faith to believe that what God spoke is bigger than what you're feeling. It takes faith to hold on when nothing around you looks like what He promised. But faith keeps your feet moving. Faith keeps your hands to the plow. Faith refuses to let go of the picture God put in your spirit. Focus will cost you. Losing focus will cost you more. You may have to walk alone for a season. You may have to be misunderstood. You may have to be silent when you want to defend yourself. But if you stay focused, you'll see the vision come to pass. You'll see why you had to stay committed. why you had to keep your eyes forward, why you couldn't afford to let distractions derail you. The very thing that tried to pull you off course will be the thing God uses to prove his faithfulness when the vision manifests. Pain has a way of feeling final. It grips you so tight that you start to think this is all there is, that life will always hurt this way. What if the pain wasn't meant to paralyze you? What if it was meant to position you? What if the very thing you thought was going to break you was actually the thing God was going to use to build you? Pain is a strange teacher. It teaches lessons comfort never could. It pushes you out of places you would have stayed too long. It forces you to confront things you would have ignored. And when you let God get in the middle of your pain, it becomes the platform where his power is revealed. Every person who ever did something significant for God had to go through pain. Joseph had to go through the pit and the prison before he could stand in the palace. David had to go through rejection by his own family before he could become king. Even Jesus had to endure the pain of the cross before he could walk in the power of the resurrection. That tells you that pain is not the end. It is the pathway. What you are going through is shaping you, stretching you, preparing you to carry what God is about to release into your life. The enemy wants you to stop in the middle of your pain and make it your permanent address. He wants you to settle in bitterness, settle in shame, settle in anger, because he knows that if you keep moving, that pain will turn into power. When you choose to rise in spite of it, you are telling hell, you should have killed me when you had the chance, because now I'm coming out stronger. Every tear you cried was not wasted. It was watering the seed of your purpose. Every night you spent wondering why you had to go through this was building endurance, faith, and wisdom you will need when you get to the next level. Pain clarifies things. It shows you who is really for you and who was just around you for what you could give them. It teaches you who you are under pressure. It forces you to lean on God in a way you never would have if life had stayed comfortable. And when you come out on the other side, you don't just come out with a testimony, you come out with authority. You can speak to people who are going through what you went through, and they will listen because you've been there. You know what it feels like to hurt and still trust God, to be broken and still show up, to feel empty and still keep going. When you let pain turn into purpose, you rob the enemy of his victory. The very thing he meant to silence you becomes the message you preach. The heartbreak becomes hope for somebody else. The abuse becomes a story of God's ability to heal. The loss becomes proof that God can restore. And suddenly you start to see that what you thought was punishment was actually preparation. It was God equipping you to reach the people he's called you to reach. The truth is, pain is unavoidable, but misery is optional. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. You can decide that this pain will not make you bitter, it will make you better. You can choose to turn it into fuel for your faith, motivation to keep building, keep believing, keep pressing toward the vision he gave you. Faith is the difference between standing still and stepping into what God promised. You can have the vision, you can have the dream, you can have the plan, but without faith, you will stay exactly where you are. Faith is not just believing with your mind. It is trusting with your whole being. It is leaning into the unseen and saying, God, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I believe you will. Faith is what gets you out of the boat when everything in you wants to stay safe. Faith is what makes you keep building when the storm clouds are gathering. Faith is what keeps you showing up even when you don't see results yet. Faith is not passive, it is active. Faith doesn't just sit and wait, faith moves. It makes decisions that line up with what God said even before you see the evidence. Noah built an ark when there was no rain. Abraham packed his bags not knowing where he was going. Joshua marched around walls that had not yet fallen. Faith always looks foolish to the natural eye because it is based on what cannot be seen. Faith is the currency of heaven. It's how you access the promise of God. There will always be moments when fear tries to drown out your faith. Fear whispers, what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if you get hurt again? But faith shouts louder, what if it does work? What if this is the moment everything changes? What if God shows himself strong on your behalf? Fear focuses on the risk, but faith focuses on the reward. Fear keeps you stuck in the boat, but faith lets you walk on water. Faith will be tested not to break you, but to prove you. When the answer takes longer than you expected, when the door doesn't open right away, when you have to pray longer, cry harder, and wait patiently, that is when faith is refined. It's in the waiting room that faith grows roots. It's in the fire that faith is purified. You begin to discover that faith isn't just about getting what you want. It's about trusting who God is even when you don't get what you thought you needed. Faith is your fuel because it keeps you moving forward when everything in your past is trying to pull you back. When the weight of yesterday threatens to slow you down, faith reminds you that there is more ahead. When the pain of what you went through tries to convince you that you are finished, faith tells you this is just a chapter, not the conclusion. Faith strengthens your legs when you feel tired, puts breath back in your lungs when you feel empty, and gives you courage to take the next step when you can't see the whole path. The beautiful thing about faith is that it doesn't have to be big to be powerful. Jesus said, all you need is faith the size of a mustard seed, and you can move mountains. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one step, then another, and before you know it, you're walking into the promise. Faith is not about having control. It's about surrendering control to the one who sees the end from the beginning. There is a kind of victory that doesn't come to the fastest, the smartest, or the strongest. It comes to the one who refuses to quit. Life will test you to see if you have the endurance to hold on when everything in you wants to let go. The breakthrough is often just on the other side of the moment when you feel like giving up. That is why the enemy fights you so hard right before you step into the promise. He knows if he can wear you down, discourage you, make you walk away too soon, you'll miss what was about to be yours. But But if you make up your mind that quitting is not an option, there is nothing hell can do to stop you. Winners aren't people who never felt tired. They are people who felt tired and kept going anyway. They cried while they worked, prayed while they pressed, stood while the storm raged, and said, I will not break. Every time you decide to keep going, you are declaring with your life that your destiny is worth the fight. Refusing to quit doesn't mean you never get weary. It means you don't let weariness win. It means you rest, but you don't retreat. It means you stumble, but you don't stay down. It means you shake the dust off your feet and keep walking toward the vision. Quitting might feel easier in the moment, but it costs more in the long run. The pain of pressing forward is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. You cannot afford to abandon what God has placed in your heart just because it got hard. The road to greatness is always paved with obstacles. The closer you get to the promise, the more resistance you will face. The pressure you are under is a sign of the potential you carry. Diamonds are made under pressure, and so are destinies. Every time you refuse to quit, you gain strength you didn't even know you had. Perseverance is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. When you keep going through the fire, you come out refined, sharper, tougher, wiser. When you endure the storm, you learn how to navigate the next one with confidence. And when you stand in victory, you will look back and realize that every battle, every tear, every sleepless night was worth it because it shaped you into who you are. There are people watching your life who need to see you win. Your endurance is not just about you. It's about the generations coming after you. It's about the people God will assign to your story. If you quit, you not only lose your blessing, but you rob someone else of their hope. Someone needs to see that it is possible to get knocked down and get back up again, that it is possible to be betrayed and still trust God, that it is possible to start over and still win. Victory is not given to the faint of heart. It belongs to those who keep showing up when others walk away. It belongs to the one who prays one more prayer, takes one more step, believes one more day. It belongs to the person who says, I may be tired, I may be hurting, but I will not give up until I see what God said. The crown is for the finisher. The prize is for the runner who crosses the line. The reward is for the one who kept pressing when quitting looked easier.